Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan.
What if your emotional life didn't have to feel like a constant reaction or a constant recovery? Welcome to the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic, a global online clinic offering psychotherapy, coaching, integrative well-being services, and mind-body practices, all in one place. At International Awareness Integration Institute, we don't just talk about change, we train it. Our work is guided by awareness integration theory, an evidence-based psychological and educational model designed to reduce anxiety and depression patterns, strengthen emotional regulation, and help you build a life that feels meaningful, steady, and fulfilling. Whether you're navigating stress, relationship strain, burnout, life transitions, trauma symptoms, or simply the feeling that you've outgrown your old life, you'll find a clear path forward here, supported by licensed professionals and expert practitioners. If you're ready to feel better, think clearer, and live fully, join the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic today. Visit awarenessintegration.com and book your first session or join our membership.
Using awareness integration theory as the base of it, the first thing that the parent does, and GEM stands for ground yourself, which means the parent first becomes aware of their own emotions. Are they reacting? They regulate themselves, because a dysregulated parent cannot regulate a child. So they first ground themselves, then they enter the child's world, meaning you understand what your child is going through, what are their emotions, what is behind the behavior, and what is their developmental stage. A child that is melting down at the age of 1 is very different than a child that melts down at the age of 5. They have different emotions, they have different developmental stages, and they have different needs. And then M is move with guidance. So you first calm your child down when you enter their world, when you understand them. You calm them down, they come out of the whatever is happening to them, and then you start teaching and guiding them. You don't do it while they are going through a tantrum or a meltdown or whatever is happening to them. And that GEM framework works with everything. It's not a formula, it's just a lot.
Introducing a powerful new update from the Foojan app. Now with flexible subscription plans to fit your journey monthly, quarterly, or yearly. Our new AI-driven onboarding customizes your path to feeling better, faster, and enjoy a refreshed experience with stunning 3D interactive videos. Update now. Empower your inner voice with Foojan. Download today. If you've been doing your best, but still feel stuck in anxiety, relationship stress, or the weight of old patterns, this is where things begin to shift. At the Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic, we offer something different. We provide 2 pathways forward. In psychotherapy, our licensed clinicians help heal unresolved trauma, reduce anxiety and depression, and navigate life transitions. In coaching, our certified coaches help you build confidence, leadership, and relationship mastery, turning insight into decisive action. Both are guided by Dr. Foojan Zain's evidence-based awareness integration theory, a structured roadmap from awareness to integration to action. During our summit, save 25% on all services from March 22nd through 29th. Visit awarenessintegration.com to book your first session or request to be matched with the right provider.
Welcome to Inner Voice. This is Heartfelt Chat, where we explore how to clear the past, create a new future, and live a fulfilled life now. I'm your host, Dr. Foojan Zain. I'm a psychotherapist, a life and a business coach, an author, speaker, and the founder of the International Awareness Integration Institute. Each week, I bring you heartfelt conversation about healing, self-awareness, relationships, mind and body well-being, emotional clarity, and creating a life that feels true to who you are. Today, I will be talking to Dr. Eileen Manoukian. She's a parent coach, a child development specialist, and an early childhood educator with over 2 decades of experience working with children and families. She's the founder of Gem Educare, an award-winning multilingual preschool in Los Angeles, and the creator of Gem Parenting Academy, where she helps parents raise emotional, healthy, confident children through the GEM framework rooted in the awareness integration theory. Dr. Manoukian is also a play interventionist and an author and the co-author of Intentional Parenting. After a successful career in banking, Dr. Manoukian followed her passion for helping children and families, eventually earning a doctorate in the early childhood development education. And today she works with expecting parents and families with children ages 0 to 12. Helping them build stronger connections, navigate challenging behaviors with confidence, and raise emotionally healthy, resilient children. She is actually offering our listeners, all of you, 20% discount for a year. And this offer ends July 1st. Go to GemParentingAcademy.com and use the coupon code Inner Voice, and you will have the access and you will have the discount. This is beautiful. I've worked with her for many years. We've co-authored, and I've watched how she does, her work with children and parents, and it's just magical. So I hope that you enjoy this conversation and be able to use it in your life. Now, my intention is that this conversation touches your heart, awakens your awareness, and gives you something meaningful to carry into your life. So let's begin. Without further ado, here is Dr. Eileen Manoukian.
Listen up if you want to promote your personal growth and self-awareness. I found the Foojan app last month and I have been absolutely loving it. I personally have never learned guided meditation, but thanks to this app, I now have learned incredible tools for my own stress relief and emotional self-awareness. Not to mention, there are self-evaluation tools and professional coaching available to utilize however your journey to self-discovery takes you. Join Foojan today and redefine your life one step at a time.
Now, sometimes the mind understands, but the body still holds the stress. That's why the International Awareness Integration Institute Virtual Clinic offers mind-body services that help you regulate your nervous system, restore calm, and return to yourself physically, emotionally, and mentally. Our reflective practices include guided mindfulness, breath work, yoga, and grounding exercises, and specifically curated to support emotional regulation and physiological calm. Our somatic integration practices are a refined body-led approach where healing begins with presence, working with breath, sensation, posture, and gentle movement so resilience becomes felt, not forced. And for those who want deeper whole person support, we offer functional well-being guidance, addressing the interplay between hormonal balance, digestion, sleep architecture, and lifestyle factors with a root cause holistic framework. This is not self-care as a luxury. This is self-regulation as a life skill and a pathway to fulfillment. Choose the support your body and life have been asking for. Visit awarenessintegration.com to join a weekly meditation, explore somatic healing, breathwork, yoga-inspired movement, or functional medicine services, and start feeling the difference. Well, everyone, welcome, Dr. Eileen Manoukian. It's so nice to have you again on the show.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zane, for your invitation. And I am very happy to be here and we can discuss some stuff with your listeners.
Yeah, you're up to really good stuff. Obviously, we had you when we co-wrote the book Intentional Parenting. And you've been so busy, not only having the award-winning daycare and multilingual daycare, and then beyond that, now you're creating this new amazing membership for so many parents that are so much in need. I work with so many parents at this time that right when they have their children, and sometimes they have the ability to have a staff, and they even have other people who are working and helping with them. They'll have their family members who are helping with them. But I think that no matter what you know and what your parents knew, for every parent, there's this anxiety. Like the minute you become a parent, you're anxious. You're responsible for this little being, an amazing being that you brought into this world. And, you're going to try different things and things that your mother told you and your father told you and you're supposed to be doing. And then the nannies come and tell you. And then, at one point you're like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, I give up. And between not sleeping, between, having the responsibility of a child. And sometimes, you think, okay, I got it with the first child. And then the second and the third one comes. And you're like, okay, I did not think that this would be so hard. I actually had a client who said, I thought we figured it out by the first one. And then the second one came. First of all, it's completely a different child. Mentality is different. Temperament is different. And we're both like, are going to, tear apart our hair because it's so hard. So what you're offering the parents are such a blessing. So before we get into the parenting method, I want our audience to know, how did you even get to this place of wanting to work with children?
So it's a long story, but I will give you the shortest version possible. So a few years back, actually 10 years ago, I had an incident with my back, and I went through a surgery. It was a pretty painful time. And I was thinking to myself on my birthday, what is one thing that I have always wanted to do and I never did? Because when you're in pain, things start looking differently. Now, the little things that are really annoying, they are not annoying anymore because you look at life differently. You're like, oh, this was bothering me. It doesn't even bother me. Now my pain is bothering me. And how blessed I was when I didn't have pain and I was annoyed by, I don't know, the neighbor saying this or that. So I started thinking about what I wanted to do, what was my dream. And one of my dreams was to travel the world. So I decided as soon as I can walk and I can be comfortable, I'm gonna travel the world. So I sold everything that I had because I didn't want to have the worry of how am I gonna take care of everything. And I left. And one other thing that I always wanted to do was volunteering in a orphanage or a childcare facility in South Africa. I tried once and it didn't work. This time I decided, well, when I'm traveling the world, I'm going to go to South Africa. Why not do it now? And that's what I did. And when I was there, I noticed that although the pain of these children are going through so much, the poverty, the poverty and the gang violence and everything that they were going through, I still was really happy working with them. I felt like I was making a big difference in their lives. And how happy these children were, although they were going through all this trauma. So that was when I decided I am actually going to come back and start doing this, because before that I was working in the banks. I was in banking industry. I had a very good position, very good solid job, but I decided that's not what I want to do. My calling in life is to work with children, which I knew from very early on. I was probably 4 when I decided I really like to work with babies and children. But then life happened and it all went away. So I came back and I decided to start a daycare program because I wanted to work with children one-on-one. So I started researching, and in the meantime, I also decided to go back to school and get my doctoral degree in early childhood education. So I started Gem Educare, which is the daycare that I have right now. And I started collaborating with a lot of friends like you, and I started using awareness integration theory, which really helped me. That was actually my year-long trip was a result of awareness integration theory, because I could actually be aware of what I wanted, how I was thinking, how I was feeling. And I thought to myself, well, that's a great idea too, with your permission, because you're the originator, and we talked about this when I came back, to implement this with little children and see how it will affect them. And when the results were amazing, it still is, it's unbelievable. I actually had somebody from licensing come a few days ago. She came 3 times just to watch the children to see what is going on. How are these children so calm? How are they so loving? How are they not clingy and melting down and all of that? So she was very impressed. She actually wrote a very beautiful raving review of what was going on. So, and I really think, not think, but I know that this is because of awareness integration theory. Then I noticed a gap. The gap was, okay, I am working with children and I am implementing this format, but the parents don't know how to do that. So when the child is with the parent, is a different person. They turn into a completely different person than when they are with me. Actually, a couple of days ago, one of my assistants was telling me, remember so and so came for a photo shoot. We were taking pictures of them for Mother's Day with their parents, and the child would not sit still. And then she came and called me and she said, he's not sitting still. Can you come and talk to him? And I came and I said the child's name, and I said, please sit still. We're going to take a picture. And he was like, well, how do you want me to pose? And the mother was like, we did this so many times and he didn't listen to us. So it's the effect of how you're behaving around the children. How are you regulating yourself first? And then the child feeds off of your regulation. So then I decided now parents need help because they really, as you said, don't know what to do. And they are bombarded with all this information. When you go on social media, everybody is giving something, some kind of information. But really, if you have 2 children, they are not alike. How can you be a parent and tell other parents what to do if you only had 1 or 2 children? Because their child can be completely different, and what you're telling them would not work. And most of these influencers are just parents. They don't have the experience or the education, and they need help themselves too. They don't have a bad motive. Their motive is very good, but it is really not working on every child.
Yes. So it's interesting. First of all, for people who don't know you, people who come to your daycare and the parents started calling you the child whisperer. So it's very interesting in how you are with them. And I've been to your daycare many times and, looked at, yes, like, there's 12 to 14 children who are from different ages and being together, and how solidly they connect, how loving they are, how they give each other service, and how they take care of each other, and even the techniques they learn since you and your staff have done with them, and they do it with each other, which is so beautiful. Like they're role modeling from you guys, and they do it with the younger child or one of their peers in order to regulate emotion or the things that they need. I know that when we had spoken about the awareness integration, most of the educational psychological models, they are, designed first for specifically for adults. And many times part of the work is not only to look at the present moment, but it's also kind of reflective. So it's always about how, the person learning about how to reflect upon themselves. And it's interesting because when you decided to do this with the early development, from this infancy all the way, first, I think it was until 6, and then it expanded. The child does not have the ability to reflect. So that's not something that their developmental stages start. So we were talking about, okay, how can you bring this in a proactive model versus only a reflective model or a redactive model, which you go to the past and, you look at even your observational construct is a little bit more reflective as an adult because they do have the ability to do it. And yet, an infant doesn't have that ability. A 2-year-old doesn't have the ability to reflect upon themselves, but they do have the ability to observe, learn, and imitate what's happening in front of them. And most of the children learn from this concept as an observation of external, people and behaviors, and they imitate that, right? So that's how they learn actually and create that for themselves. And then it's like, okay, many times as we were working with adults, the reflective angle of how do I feel name the feeling and then, kind of release the feeling, and then let's go and look at where it's coming from. When it needed to become a proactive construct about it, how does a child now have the ability to do this, to regulate themselves? It made the model go from, again, a reflective position to a very proactive position, creating this model for early childhood. So it's important for people as they're hearing to know the development of how this, the Gem parenting techniques, the Gem Educare, and then for the children, and then Gem parenting got created. And for all of you who are interested, just to know that this intentional parenting, a practical guide to awareness integration theory, which was for parenting, was written by Dr. Eileen Manoukian, Dr. Jafari, and myself. And it's published by Cambridge, and you're more than welcome to get it from I think my website, Dr. Eileen's Manoukian's website, or the Cambridge website, or Amazon for all of you who really want, because each chapter really goes toward a specific age group, and not only look at the developmental stages that people need to be aware of the children, what's normal, what might be challenging, and from this perspective of this theory, how do you actually handle your children? So this was a concept that came up after you were working with the children for a while. And then, looking at how to design this where you could actually teach and give the parents a way to observe, to understand, to get educated about the developmental of the stages of their children, and then how to handle each of one of their children with observation of what does that child need. So not only you can have skills where it could work with any type of parenting, but also the observational skills of what does this child specifically need based on their character.
Yes, exactly. And that's how I came up with the GEM framework, which is what we work with the parents. So using awareness integration theory as the base of it, the first thing that the parent does, and GEM stands for ground yourself, which means the parent first becomes aware of their own emotions. Are they reacting? They regulate themselves, because a dysregulated parent cannot regulate a child. So they first ground themselves, then they enter the child's world, meaning you understand what your child is going through, what are their emotions, what is behind the behavior, and what is their developmental stage. A child that is melting down at the age of 1 is very different than a child that melts down at the age of 5. They have different emotions, they have different developmental stages, and they have different needs. And then M is move with guidance. So you first calm your child down when you enter their world, when you understand them. You calm them down, they come out of the whatever is happening to them, and then you start teaching and guiding them. You don't do it while they are going through a tantrum or a meltdown or whatever is happening to them. And that GEM framework works with everything. It's not a formula, it's just a way of being. So you become a person who first grounds themselves, then they enter the child's world, and then they move forward with guidance.
So as you're looking at the first concept, which is grounding, for example, right? So when we look at it from the awareness integration theory, that observation of how, what am I thinking? How am I feeling? What am I doing? And based on this, I can see the test to see, if it works or not. Like, am I getting the result that I want? Am I getting the impact that I want or not? And, most of us, with the best of intention, we're going to do something, and then the result doesn't show up. And we're like, well, I did everything that I could. And sometimes we go back and see that, yes, maybe you did everything you could, but you didn't have the skills to do it. Or you thought you did everything you could, but internally you were frustrated. And although you were trying to be very sweet and loving, your frustration inside, or your thought process about, I'm not a good parent, I'm failing as a parent, or I'm not able to, to soothe my child, shows up for you, which creates this, this regulation internally. And your children, especially young children, might not understand all the wordings, but they certainly feel the feelings. So without you really wanting to or knowing that you are transferring your feeling, and many times the child is picking up those feelings and making up their own world out of it, right? So your frustration, which is inside, and you're telling yourself, I'm not a good mother or a good father, obviously, I'm failing because I can't soothe my child. That frustration turns into a place as a space where your child now might think that I'm not a good baby, I'm a bad kid, and that's why my mother is frustrated with me. So it is so important for that grounding piece at the beginning, where a person can actually first regulate themselves and know how to do that. So can you share with some of the angles where you see parents really have to deal with, and what are some of the ways of grounding themselves?
Yes, of course. So I'm going to give you examples that I have seen with my own eyes. Some of the things are the stories that we have. They are stories of our lives. We have created these stories for ourselves, and we don't know they exist until they show up. So when we are parenting, and for example, our mother has told us, I don't know, a girl doesn't scream. I'm giving you an example. And our daughter starts screaming. The mother comes here and says, a girl doesn't scream. You didn't do a good job. Or your child is a bad child. So you go from this story of a girl should not scream, a good girl will not scream, to teaching your child what to do, so that frustration and anger or disappointment shows up in your words, or it shows up in your tone of voice. So that's when you have to become aware of, why am I doing what am I doing? Why am I trying to tell my child, for example, we are giving an example, she's not a good girl because she screamed. That's not true. But we have this background or story in the back of our minds. The other thing is that this happened actually when a parent came to take one of the children home. And I started talking to the child, and the child calmed down, was having a meltdown every time would see the mother. Calmed down, put the shoes on, said goodbye very nicely, and left. So the mother said, oh, wow, what did you do? I said, did you hear how I talked to him? She, yes, okay, next time try to use the same thing. So I wrote what I told the child and texted it to the parent. So the next time she comes, she says, I do the same thing, but it doesn't work. I think he just wants to listen to you and not me. So I said, why don't you do it right now? He's having a meltdown. And she starts doing it. In her opinion, she was doing what I told her to do, but she was not doing what I told her to do. She was doing her interpretation of what I told her to do. So I stopped her and I said, but these are the words I use. This is the sentence I used. You're using a different sentence. And she said, it's the same thing. I said, no, it's not. This is a 2-year-old. To him, what you say and what I say are worlds apart. And that's why he's not reacting the way he's reacting to me, to you. Because, and again, the awareness comes here, it comes into a play. Be aware of exactly what words you're using with your children. Because what comes out of our minds, our children, especially if they are very young, they take it literally. It's like talking to AI. If you tell them, stop doing this, why are you wasting my time? It says, okay, I will stop. It doesn't understand you're being sarcastic. It's like children are like that. You have to give them short, very concrete words so they will understand what you're saying. Another time when this happened was a parent that I was having a coaching session with, and she had the same thing. She said, I don't know why, but she doesn't listen to me. When I'm talking to her and I say this and this and this and this, she doesn't listen to me. And I said, why do you tell her all those things that you say? And she says, because that's what I want her to do. So, but do you hear what you're saying? And she was like, Yes. I said, your child is 5 year old, and what you're saying doesn't register with her. You need to be aware of who you're talking to. This is a child, this is not an adult. So most of the time we bring our past with us, we bring our frustration. Everybody's a human. Same thing happens to me. There are a lot of times I catch myself. 2 minutes ago, I got a message that this happened this morning. I got a message that my mother fell on my phone, that they had a hard fall. The first thing I do is I remove myself from the room. I leave the children with the assistant because I know I am going through something that is stressful. I don't want them to feed out of my stress. And they very well feed out of it. So then I become aware of, okay, now this is handled. Everything is okay. I take a couple of breaths. I calm myself down. Then I enter the room again. All the parents are the same. Life happens. We are human beings. You can have a argument with the store clerk, and then you turn around and your child is having a meltdown. You have that stress and anxiety, and you bring it to the child. So it is very important to ground ourselves. Just if you want, just tap your fingers, or just close your eyes, take a few breaths, be present to where you are and what you're doing, and then talk to the child, because that way it will be much more effective.
Many times the parents that I've seen that they transfer their anxiety because they love their children, obviously, and they're anxious and they want to be protective, that the anxiety shows up as scolding, you know, because they're anxious, and it shows up as very intense scolding. So it's important for the person to know that their intentionality, whatever it is, intentions inside, shows up in an emotional level, and your child captures that message too. It was interesting because there was actually a research that came out this morning that said young children do pick up the parents' intentions from their eyes. And when the robot, they were trying to see if the AI robot could do the same, and the AI robot could say the same thing, but the child, even though they're looking at these like eye-looking cameras that the robot has, they weren't able to pick up. So there's definitely a different level of, you know, a connection and an energetic connection that happens between a child and the feeling and the vibration that their parents giving, and they'll pick up even the underlying intentions that we might have. So, for example, if I have that anxiety and fear, but in my wordings, I'm going to share it in another way, that although they're hearing the wording, but they're also picking up that anxiety. So it's important for the parent to be able to know that that's also being transferred. Again, you know, a lot of times when we talk to a parent, they're like, you know, I'm a human being. I've already worked hard. I've done this. There's two of them. One is yelling. So it's not like, you know, I'm sitting there with like, oh, let me just calm myself down, but I have to handle this. So yes, there are times you can't, but I do think that when you're aware that all parts of you are being transferred, then you might want to choose between the messages that you're transferring because you're aware. But if you're not aware of it, this is happening simultaneously, subconsciously, and you're getting the result where the child is getting, you know, more frustrated with you, and yet you don't know why what you're saying or what you're doing is not creating the result that you want. So this first part of the G in grounding and really becoming aware and calming yourself down, it becomes like the essence of the next levels. Because if you're not able to do this, you put also your child into a space of, you know, kind of like frightened and anxiety and all of it, and they can't hear a message. So as long as you're not first dysregulating yourself and then doing the same thing, creating safety and calmness for yourself and your child, no message actually enters.
Yes, exactly. Yes. If you're not regulated yourself, you cannot regulate your child, because as you said, they feed off of your energy. If you come in and you have any kind of concern at work, anywhere, that your child feeds off of it. And if you, I'm sure every parent does their best. Every parent has good intentions. Nobody ever judges that. But if you notice when you come from work or wherever you are and you have some anxiety, you will see that your child acts up even more. They are not calm. They don't sit around because they feel that anxiety, as you said, or that anxiousness, and they become anxious too. And you cannot regulate them because you're not regulated yourself yet. So you need to calm down first and then go and deal with your child. And of course, it is not always possible, but we are talking about majority of the time.
I've had even clients who come in with their infant because they couldn't find a childcare. They come to the office and they start arguing with each other, and immediately a child that was asleep in the bassinet starts crying, and Can is like, well, what happened? And although they're whispering, but they're angry at each other and they're talking. And immediately the children pick up the vibration and the energy of the emotion that is happening at that moment and react to it, because their body picks up something and is uncomfortable, and they'll start reacting to whatever it is that is uncomfortable.
Right.
So maybe like some of the parents are thinking and they're like, okay, I can start doing that, but it doesn't mean that I always know what to do. And it's true. Parenting, it takes skills. And if you don't know what those skills are and what those developmental stages are, you're going to feel like a failure because that skill wasn't given to you. And I think a lot of it also has to do with the developmental stages. I recall, for example, that you said a child lies at a particular stage. No parent likes that their child is lying, but it's a different concept when I know that my child is lying because it's supposed to be at this age and it has a function. So I don't make them bad and wrong and, oh my God, what type of a child I created, versus you could still, guide the behavior of lying toward, telling the truth and the benefits of the truth. But it's a different way of handling it if I don't know that these are part of the appropriate, developmental stage. Can you share a little bit about these distinctions, which are so important for parents to know, so that it normalizes what the child does? And then from there, we can still guide the child's behavior to what we say, we want to teach them, versus coming to whatever's child doing with like, oh, this is so awful, what kind of a child I've created and what is this beast that is coming here? So there's a difference there's a different way of handling and being with a child when you kind of have an idea of the developmental stages.
Sure. So these are some examples I give the parents, and they start laughing because it's funny to them, but they're like, oh, that's the reason. So if you notice when the children are young and you put them on a high chair, they eat one piece and they drop the other. And they look and they say, uh-oh. I actually have a parent who said, yeah, he started saying, oh, the child is like 1 year old now. I said, have you heard? He says, oh, it's so cute. And she said, no, it becomes annoying after the fifth thing that he throws down. And I said, do you know why he throws it? She said, yeah, he just wants to get on my nerves. He just wants to make the room dirty. And I said, no, that's not what he's doing, why he's doing it. He's actually learning that if I throw something, it goes down. It doesn't go up. It doesn't go sideways. If I let this go, it goes down. So he's learning something new. And he's learning geometry. He's learning algebra. They put things into each other and they cannot take it out. But that's their developmental stage. That's their brain telling them, let me see if this will go inside this thing. And if it goes and doesn't come out, and they're like, uh-oh, it doesn't come out. Why doesn't this come out? It helps them develop. As you said, I was telling a parent came very, very upset and said, my daughter told me a lie yesterday. And I said, congratulations. And she said, what do you mean? Are you making fun? I said, no, Your child has come to the developmental stage that she understands what is in my mind is not in my mother's mind. People outside don't know what I'm thinking. So I can actually say something that they don't know. So I'm going to test them and say something that is not true and see if they will know or not. So this is their developmental stage. Between age 3 and 4, they learn that. But if you don't know this is their developmental stage, as you said, you take it personally. You start thinking, why is my child acting like this? Or pushing. Pushing is a way for them to develop physically. They have to push. If they don't push, their muscles will not develop correctly. They don't hit. They are trying to see they don't have enough control over their muscles to know how hard it is. So some children think that they are giving a high five to their friend, but they're actually pushing the friend. So these are things that are developmental stages. And if we know how our child is developing, and these are not different in children. So no matter how unique your child is, they might have the developmental stage earlier than their age, but it's the same in every child. They go through the developmental stages one after the other because their brain is developing. And when you know that, you're aware of what is going on in your child's body. Not only you're aware of what is going on in your body, you're also aware of what is going on with your child. Then you're able to move from whatever is happening and then start your guidance.
I've noticed a lot of time that parents have this dichotomy that at one point they look at their children and think they understand everything, but they're just like minimum size. That's not true. Like each developmental stage only can handle some things, but because the child reiterates or imitates some of the wordings that the parents use, the parents also think because they use these wordings, then they also have an understanding of the whole concept of it, which is not. Sometimes they just hear a word in the media or the television or a film or hear it from everybody else around the house, and they mimic it without understanding the whole bigger picture. Or they revert to the other side, which is it's a child, they won't understand. And so on the other side is also that, yes, a child might not understand every word, but they might understand the connotations. And usually if you use the appropriate words and they keep hearing it, it is kind of held in their memory until the proper context comes, and then it all falls into place. So many times we've shared with our parents, and how do you like state what you need to state and know that they might grasp some of it and not grasp the whole concept of it. But because they keep hearing those concepts, when the developmental stage and the brain maturity is there, it all falls into the place itself. But I've noticed that when parents learn the upcoming developmental stages a little bit early, like if your child is a 2-year-old, you start looking and start reading about a 3-year-old. So you have this, understanding of what's about to come. So if somebody goes through the early stages early, you already have it. And if they at the time or later, you're waiting. So when a behavior that is different and it changes shows up for you as a parent, you're not being shocked, or you're not being like, why is this happening? And you get alarmed as if what is happening is the wrong thing, versus having the ability to look for it and invite it, like it's an inviting concept as it shows up. And when you know the developmental stages and you know how to deal with it, then it makes, you regulate yourself and not go into your anxiety. And I think this is the intention when you were writing the book, Intentional Parenting, is to write all of these where each person can actually look forward to the next level of their children, developmental stages, and be prepared for it.
Yes, and for the first 5 years of a child's life, if you look at it, they go through developmental stages very, very fast. A 1-month-old child is totally different than a 3-month-old child, than a 6-month-old child. A 1-year-old child doesn't have the same abilities as a 2-year-old child does. They go through these stages very fast, and it's important for the parents to know where each child is developmentally and what is going to happen next and why is it happening. That will help them very much in their parenting journey.
Yes. Now I want us to go to the next level of what you've created, which is the website that you've created with a membership program for the Gem Parenting, which, people who are viewing us, you can see it. And so, Gem Parenting Academy, which on this, you really go into the concept of Gem, and with every, let's say, matter that happens, you actually create something which tells them exactly how to go through the framework, what to say, what not to say. Do you need, help with the big emotions, let's say, and that's what shows up, like, do they have tantrum? Do they, how can you create it like a calm boundary? What happens when there's a separation anxiety? So you can go through the website and really look at what is, what do you need as a parent, with depending on the age of your child, and you've categorized it at the base, what's happening, and some of the maybe difficulties or what the children are going through in that age group. And people can actually have downloadable, very systematic, like, if this happens, this is how you take care of yourself, and this is what you do. So it's really giving the parents step by step based on some of the challenges that they might go through.
Yes, so I developed this membership website based on several things. One is that I wanted to reach a lot more parents because I know a lot of people need help. Second was to make it affordable for everyone. And I listened to all the parents who asked me questions, who had challenges, who wanted to be really good parents, how they can be the best parent they can be, and what are the obstacles when I am coaching them. What are some of the obstacles? So I try to get those obstacles away. So the website has age tracks. So it starts with expecting parents. So if you're expecting a child, there's a different age track for you. You can go through it. It talks about your anxieties, what children really need, how do you have to prepare for them, what can you expect the first few weeks. Well, if your child, and then it goes through 0 to 2 years old. So there you get information about how the infants develop, what they need, how can you connect with your infant. These are questions that I have heard a lot. There are videos on the website that the parents can watch. I add every week, I add a printable or a video to the website. And every month, I give parents a platform on Zoom. They can come on Zoom and ask me live questions that they have for an hour and a half. And then other than that, there are the printables, which you mentioned. And the printables are specific challenges at a specific age group. So for example, you have tantrum first aid for 0 to 2, then you have tantrum first aid for 2 to 5. Because the reason your child is having a tantrum at 0 to 2 is very different from the reason that your child is having a tantrum at the age of 4. And the printables explain why the child is having that behavior, what developmental stage they are at, how to use GEM framework, which is ground yourself, enter the child's world, and move with guidance. And also it gives specific scripts. So if your child is doing this, say this and exact words. Because as I said, I noticed that people use their interpretation of what I tell them to do. And then it completes the printable. The printables are between 7 and 8 pages each one. And there are several of them, and I'm going to add more and more. If your child is at the age of potty training, you don't know when to potty train your child, there will be a video about that, and there's a printable about that. What signs to look for, how to potty train most effectively. So it is filled with a lot of information. This is a research going on for years and in so many different countries. As you know, I researched when I was traveling the world, I researched childcare in the rest of the countries I went in. And I learned things from each one of them. And I have been in the field, so I wrote a lot of articles. We did some together. Talked in a lot of conferences, and also my own experience with over 120 children who were in that age group. It's like if you're a parent, you see what, 3 children. If you're a grandparent, you have seen 15 children. I have raised about 120. So I have seen a lot more diversity. And the children who come here, as you mentioned before, they are from diverse backgrounds. We have all nationalities, all religions, all different types of children at different age groups. So this website is a collection of all of those.
Beautiful.
And yeah.
Is there anything we haven't shared that you really want people to know?
One thing I want them to know is every parent is doing their best. So they should be very proud of themselves that they are parenting a child. It's the most difficult job in the world. And you are doing a wonderful job. We are just providing you with tools, and this platform is completely non-judgmental. There is no judgment at all. It's just providing coaching, providing some tools, and also you will get a community that you can talk to each other. You might have an issue that another parent can help you with. So it's also a parents community. So my hat's off to you for being a parent, and hopefully you can get all the tools you need.
Yes, absolutely. And where can people find you? And if you can, obviously, everybody just know that you're going to have all of this in the show notes, the website and everything. But can you tell them exactly for people who are driving maybe and not looking at it right now?
Sure. So you can find me at Eileen Manoukian or Dr. Eileen Manoukian. You can find me if you Google me. Gem Parenting Academy has its own social media. It also has its own website. It's Gem Parenting Academy. If you land in gemparenting.com, that's also my website, but that's a different one. That's only coaching. This one has all the tools and it's a membership website. I also have a gift for your listeners, since I'm so grateful to you for allowing me to use awareness integration theory as the background of all these wonderful things that are happening. I'm going to offer them a limited time discount promotion. If they want to become a member of Gem Parenting Academy, you will get a 20% discount for a year of membership. And that the code will be inner voice. I think we will write it down. Inner with a capital I and voice with a capital V. And that's going to be your promotional code. If you enter it, you will get a 20% discount.
Beautiful. Everybody, those will be in the show notes. So just make sure that you see it and then you go to the website and put your code in and become a member to receive from 0 to 12 years of your age of your children. You can have access to amazing support, which is evidence-based. It's being used every day in actual daycares, and everything is being looked upon and, with different people, with different backgrounds, with different languages, different religions. So the diversity, I'm sure you'll find yourself in that, not only as a parent, globally, that people go through some stuff in parenting, but also, different cultures and different angles might have their own need. And you have the time of the coaching to be able to look at your own individual need if you can't find it on the website as a complexity that most children go through. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. for joining me for another heartfelt conversation at the Inner Voice, a heartfelt chat with Dr. Foojan. If today's episode touched you, I invite you to take 3 simple actions. Follow Inner Voice on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, or YouTube. Share this episode with one person that may need hope, needs clarity, or support. Leave a kind rating or recommendation on Apple Podcasts, iHeart, or Spotify so more people can find these healing conversations. You can connect with me at awarenessintegration.com or IAII.life and learn more about therapy, coaching, mind-body services, functional medicine, groups, and enjoy the Foojan app with Mira, which is the AI chatbot, which is trained in AIT. Now, through the International Awareness Integration Institute, you can access all of those. So until next time, listen to your inner voice, lead with awareness, and live a fulfilled life. Awareness, integration theory, certification programs. If you're a psychotherapist, clinician, or coach ready to elevate your impact, I invite you to become certified in the Awareness Integration Theory, AIT model. AIT is a structured, evidence-informed approach that strengthens emotional regulation, reduces anxiety and depression patterns, and helps clients create lasting change. Our training is practical, clear, and immediately usable in sessions, so you can work with more confidence and consistency. Join a global community of practitioners shaping the future of integrative mental health. Become AIT certified today. Visit awarenessintegration.com.